Hello, and thank you for joining us today for the AmeriCorps VISTA sponsor meeting. We're glad that you were able to join us today as we share important updates to provide you about the VISTA program and keep you informed about next steps. This call is being recorded, and as we continue, we'll share a few agenda items with you. We'll welcome you, and again, we're excited to have you join us today. We'll then go through some director remarks from the director of the VISTA program, providing you some updates about the VISTA program, talking about the Schools of National Service. Then we'll briefly mention details from the AmeriCorps Office of Monitoring, take time to answer some of your questions, and then we'll ask you to complete a webinar evaluation and finally close with some remarks. You're probably familiar with this by now in the land of Zoom, but again, you can access the audio through your computer or on the phone. If you can hear me, you can go ahead and type a message in the chat like hello or the city and state where you're serving just to confirm the audio is working. We will be monitoring the chat throughout the meeting, so feel free to test it out as we just mentioned. And again, make sure you send your message please to all panelists and attendees. Sometimes it defaults to all panelists, but so that everyone can see your comment and or question, please make sure it goes to all panelists and attendees. And as usual, we'll post the recording on the VISTA campus about a week from now once everything's finalized and all set. So once again, welcome to today's VISTA sponsor meeting. I'm very excited to turn it over to the director of the VISTA program, Desiree Tucker-Serini. Desiree, you may begin.
Thank you, Eric. What a lovely introduction. Welcome everyone to our January call. I did want to start off with the acknowledgement that we are going through incredible turmoil in our country. There are many disenfranchised voices across the country, and some of them are a threat to our democracy. But I do believe in our country and in our strength. The majority of our reasonable citizens want debate, dialogue, compromise, and thoughtful solutions to the very serious issues we are facing now in our country and around the world. But I believe national service can play a part in bridging the divides. We are going through troubled times with many changes, large and small, both in our workplaces and in our own personal lives. We must offer each other grace and understanding. Listen to science to keep each other safe and healthy and be respectful. Part of that change is new government leadership. As a public servant, myself and the entire VISTA and AmeriCorps team is here. It is our job to support new leadership and help them succeed. Successful government benefits us all. Soon, new leadership will begin at AmeriCorps, and I know the staff at VISTA is eager to work and support that team. It has been such an honor to work alongside the remarkable VISTA team, our field colleagues, and all of you. We have an exciting agenda for the call today with a quick summary of 2020, an exciting presentation on Schools of National Service, and a discussion with our, I'm saying new in quotes, monitoring office. They're really not new, but they are just a fabulous team that I'm excited for you to meet. I have to laugh at this slide where it says goals. Goals in 2020? Yeah, whatever they were in January, they didn't turn out to be in the end. During my 15 months leading the VISTA program, the team has continued to focus on simplifying and streamlining operations while strengthening the program we all know and love. Like many of you, I never thought this work was going to be easy, but boy, did that pandemic change everything. This has forced us all to be quick and nimble to continue our important anti-poverty work while also responding to the ever-changing environment in which we all live. To support our members and you all, while also attempting to promote and protect the health and well-being of our communities. As we head into 2021, with even more change and transition on the horizon, I'd like to take a few minutes to reflect on some of our accomplishments and highlights in 2020. I'm just checking to make sure I did not skip a slide. First, I did. First, as you may recall, I had a goal of maintaining and increasing communication with you all. We were so looking forward to doing some kind of gathering as you all did in 2019 in August. But it was important to me to figure out a way for us to communicate with each other. To meet this goal, we've not only increased our written communications and updates, but we've hosted 11 of these calls, sharing agency updates as well as VISTA-specific information and highlighting some of your great work. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you'll let us know if you found these helpful and if you think we should have less written communication, and if you find these calls valuable. While coronavirus plagues our country, it has forced us all to be responsive. I'd like to commend my team and you all for the swiftness, flexibility, and creativity to allow our members to continue serving while supporting their well-being. It hasn't been easy, and I know you've worked really hard. As you recall, we hosted a number of calls dedicated to covering this ever-changing situation. Additionally, the VISTA team drafted more than 50 frequently asked questions to cover a variety of policy changes and flexibilities to support you all through this unprecedented time. Some of these flexibilities included offering additional emergency leave and teleservice flexibilities and providing members an opportunity to receive a full ed award when unable to serve due to COVID. Our recruitment practices had to shift, as I'm sure yours did as well. However, we continued to hear from you all and from our communities that the needs were greater than ever. We knew we had to continue these efforts. Our recruitment team began the year as a team of 2 and has now doubled to the mighty team of 4. To help spread the word of VISTA, this team has developed and posted more than 500 tweets from VISTA's social media accounts, receiving more than 600,000 impressions, designed 157 Facebook posts, reaching 2.4 million viewers, released 80 LinkedIn posts, reaching 313 users. Additionally, the team has participated in career fairs and developed presentations, published blog posts, launched a national campaign, and several smaller campaigns. We planned and recorded 3 episodes of a new program called Be the Greater Good, a Facebook Live series where we hear directly from some of our amazing members. I hope you'll check it out. They really will blow your socks off. It's clear that you have not allowed this global pandemic to stop your organization from serving your communities or engaging members in service. In fact, because of all of your efforts, together we engaged 8,205 members in service in FY20. This includes 5,349 full-year members and 2,856 summer associates. These are inspiring numbers, as I believe it's a true testament to the American people, the desire when confronted with adversity to get involved and to serve. In fact, as a program, we received more than 89,000 applications to the VISTA program. Wow, pretty remarkable. The American people rose to the challenge and continued to answer the call to serve. While this was and continues to be great, it presented a bit of a challenge with our regional background checks. We were exploring and piloting name-based background checks as an option when we began 2020. Our VISTA member service unit was way ahead of the times by already piloting this when we got hit with the pandemic, thankfully. It became essential for us to figure out how to implement this for all of our members quickly in order to eliminate the need and risk of in-person fingerprints. We're thrilled that we have been able to seamlessly transition to name-based background checks for members in the VISTA program. Again, a big kudos to our VISTA members support unit for seeing us through this while continuing to field hundreds, perhaps thousands of inquiries from members during this trying time. We all know that our members are the heart of our program. We continue to think of ways we can support them in successful and meaningful year of service. Last year, I am thrilled to say we increased the average member living allowance by 6.5% and the minimum member living allowance increased by 7.3%. We certainly hope this has benefited our members and allowed more people to serve in our program. And since we're on the topic of business efficiencies, I also want to let you know about our new VISTA Case Manager program that we piloted in 2020 and will be continuing. We started this program with 2 staff members serving as case managers to better serve you and our members during the removal and termination process. Unfortunately, we know that things don't always work out on site, and we want to ensure that we are providing the best customer service possible to navigate these very delicate and sometimes tricky situations. Additionally, this efficiency allows our regional colleagues to focus on other essential tasks. This change should have little impact on your day-to-day, and I know the team looks forward to sharing more information with you soon. Additionally, the arrival of COVID-19 forced us to quickly redesign our training program. Our VISTA training unit has gone through hoops and achieved greatness in this crazy time. They switched and provided new content for all members in March to members, leaders, supervisors throughout 2020. I'd like to share with you our preliminary data for 2020. In all, we held 31 events for 6,915 participants from January 22nd to December 17th. And this is in addition to regular VISTA member orientations. This was a busy time with the agency restructuring our training unit, also led the design and delivery of the VISTA training program for our new AmeriCorps regional staff. In all, our VISTA team delivered 12 live training events and 42 self-directed modules for 512 staff participants in 2020. I like to say that in AmeriCorps, we used to have 46 state offices or 46 blooming flowers. And now we have 8 blooming flowers, and we hope there's a lot more consistency in the programming that we are providing all of you. Our team, along with our regional colleagues, continued efforts to spread the word about VISTA and the application process. Our team delivered multiple webinars to potential VISTA sponsors and supported the award of 701 VISTA projects during FY20, including 135 that are new. We're thrilled to welcome you to the AmeriCorps VISTA family. Also in 2020, we were thrilled to share with you the results of 2 studies led by Pamela Paxton with the University of Texas. Dr. Paxton's work examined the impact of the presence of the VISTA members on community well-being and on nonprofit organizations' volunteer and fundraising success. Through her great work, we learned that the presence of VISTA members improves community well-being while having a positive effect on engagement. And it's no surprise to you, we learned that VISTA members serving at an organization is associated with greater volunteering in that organization years later. a testament to the long-lasting results of the VISTA program. And I would be remiss if I didn't highlight the implementation evaluation that we launched in 2020. This study includes focus groups, case studies, and a survey of all of you to help us learn how to better support you and your great work. This reminds me, you should be getting an invitation this week to participate in our survey. Please check your inboxes and be sure to complete the survey. Your input is essential. Through these 700 plus projects, we invested 7.35 million in combating the opioid epidemic and 3.56 million in STEM education training opportunities. While we're still reviewing and compiling information that you all submitted as a part of the VISTA Progress Supplement, I know that you have all been involved in great work over the last year, and our team can't wait to share those highlights. That's why those pesky progress reports are so important. The taxpayers and our congressional appropriators need to see the value in our programming. Your work matters. While my time as VISTA director will be coming to a close next week, I don't think anyone could have predicted a year quite like this. I'm incredibly proud of the work our team in VISTA AmeriCorps, alongside you and the VISTA members, have accomplished. I appreciate you letting me take this time to brag on this remarkable team I have had a chance to work alongside. We've done all of this in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of some of the greatest turmoil in our political system and racial inequities, along with major agency changes, a rebranding campaign, and an organizational structural change. That's a lot. We can go to next slide now. I wanted to introduce our next speakers and this exciting project that they have worked very, very hard on. And Sandy, I saw something go by about Rhonda, so I'm going to introduce both of you, but I'm not sure if both of you are presenting. Sandy Scott, who was one of the first individuals I met at this agency and who is a remarkable wealth of knowledge and assistance to everyone he meets. He's also got a heart of gold. He has served in so many positions throughout our agency that I really consider him an absolute expert on almost every topic. And then Rhonda Taylor, who's also been with the agency for a long time and a huge asset here in AmeriCorps. One of her claims to fame is she was so valued that I believe it was Bush 41, President Bush, the 41st president, asked her to help out at the White House for a while on a project there. So Sandy, may I turn it over to you?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Super. Well, Desiree, thank you for that very over-generous introduction. And also thank you for your passion and leadership for AmeriCorps VISTA during, as you said, some challenging times. And VISTA's value to the nation is so important, more important than ever in anti-poverty mission and capacity building. And thank you all of the project sponsors on the line for your work every day. I'm going to give a brief presentation about Schools of National Service. It's an initiative we just launched last month. It's very exciting and we think very pertinent to AmeriCorps VISTA and other parts of the AmeriCorps family. Rhonda Taylor, who's going to join me on this presentation, is caught up in another Zoom webinar, so she'll not be able to join. Let's start off with the big picture. Higher education in AmeriCorps. Higher education is the single most important investment that Americans can make in their future. It increasing their potential earnings, lowering risk of employment. It's a determinant of health, of poverty levels. It's an economic issue. Higher education is critically important. We all know that. But despite all the benefits, the cost of attaining higher education has skyrocketed over decades, and college is out of reach for many, and student loans have skyrocketed. So AmeriCorps helps Americans apply for, complete, and pay for college education in multiple ways. And they're listed there. The first and foremost, obviously, is the Siegel AmeriCorps Education Awards. The 1.1 million AmeriCorps alumni since 1994 have earned $4 billion in education awards that they use to pay for college or paying back student loans. About 2.6 billion has already been spent out of that 4 billion. And it's a critical source of support for people to achieve their college and higher education post-secondary dreams. But it's more than that. There are hundreds, literally hundreds of AmeriCorps VISTA and AmeriCorps State grantees that are colleges and universities themselves. And they are, Campus Compact is one. There's a number in the VISTA family, a number of projects in the VISTA family. Some may be on the line now, directly with universities or with working to help engage college students in service. There also are a whole set of programs that are devoted to expanding college access and college completion with near-peer mentors who help high school students select courses, prepare applications, apply for financial aid, and take other steps. So there's a big partnership and a long-standing partnership between higher education and AmeriCorps. And that's something that we want to build on with this new initiative. Next slide, please. So our vision with this initiative, Schools of National Service, is there, that we recognize that individuals who serve in AmeriCorps are mission-driven leaders who bring tremendous value to higher education that benefits students, institutions, and community in the nation. We want to strengthen that partnership. We want to lift up the partnership between AmeriCorps and higher education. And here's a way we're going to do it. Next slide, please. We want to make higher education more accessible for AmeriCorps members and alumni. For a number of years, a good number of schools have provided match or other financial institutions to AmeriCorps alumni. We now believe that there's a huge potential to grow that number. We were somewhere a little north of 200 that participated in providing some kind of match or other incentives. And our belief is that the potential could be double, triple, quadruple that. We could be in the thousands, and we should be, for all the reasons that we're going to talk about. It's beneficial to the institutions. They can get access to alumni who bring all these skills to their universities. Most universities in their mission statements talk about wanting to promote civic engagement, service, lifetime of service, citizenship. It's also at this time, a lot of higher education institutions are going through some challenges with COVID, with worrying about enrollment and recruitment. So this is a way for higher education institutions to stand out, to be seen as being part of an important movement called service and national service, and also more specifically to target recruitment efforts at AmeriCorps alumni. Next slide, please. So we launched this last month. We are doing a number of things to try to raise awareness, and primarily our main goal and what we want your help on is to just get more schools to participate. So to make a pledge of financial incentive or other incentives so that they can recruit to AmeriCorps alumni and they can be associated with service and national service and civic engagement. So our goals of this campaign: enhance the value of the AmeriCorps experience. Obviously, this is good for members and alums. If they can double the value of their education award because they're going to a school that matches it, or in some cases already we have schools that offer more than that. They may offer a quarter off of tuition or half of tuition off, or give college credit, those kinds of things. And so we have a number of tools. There's a new website, we have some data, and we have outreach materials. And we're working with a lot of partners, and we want AmeriCorps VISTA project sponsors to be helping to the extent you can to do this. Next slide, please. So to be a school of national service, these are the steps, the criteria: scholarships, fellowships, matching education award, that already exists in some places. Priority points for admission. 2 states now, Maryland and Arizona, offer in-state tuition for those who've traveled from another state and serve in AmeriCorps in those states and go to public institutions. They get in-state tuition. That's something legislators could pass in other states. Expenses and another academic credit is a big opportunity. We know it happens in small extent now, but we think it could be much bigger. Next slide, please. One of the tools that we found helpful in doing the outreach, in talking to college presidents, admissions people, deans at colleges, is to show them how much money they've already benefited from AmeriCorps. And so we posted on our website data that shows since 1994, the full amount of funding that has gone via the payments of Siegel AmeriCorps Education Awards by alumni to those institutions. And it's really amazing. In some cases, it could be millions and millions of dollars. It also has the number of alumni. And if you go to our website and just go to the Schools of National Service page, you'll be able to find a couple of boxes there. One of the boxes says payments data. I will show you some of the visual, next slide, please, some of the visualizations. There's some things that are just show like state by state, top 20 states, higher education, the largest, the institutions that have received the most. I think that is a little small print, but $36 million for Johns Hopkins, on and on. Next slide, please. You'll be able to click through and pull down a data set that has every single institution, not just in the United States, but even abroad, how much money they receive in education award payments and by how many alums. And it's broken down. Sometimes there's totals. You can look at system-wide, like here's California, across all the systems, $221 million, 61,000 alums. That's all the public institutions in California. So this is when you get your meeting with a college president, dean, or someone else, and you show them, here's how you benefit from AmeriCorps. It's just part of the pitch you can make. Next slide, please. We'll finish up. Here's some things we can do. Obviously, number one, your VISTA project, your board members, your staff, your alums, you probably have some connections already with institutions. Desiree herself, her daughter went to an institution and she reached out to the president and they came around and just decided on the spot to provide a match. It's not a hard ask, actually. Often they have scholarship money. It's asking them to set some aside. So that's number one. Reach out to colleges. Ask them to become Schools of National Service. Help spread the word. Those are our hashtags. If you're in the realm of working with state election officials, there's several steps. There's steps that states have done to be in-state tuition, removing the tax, the state tax on the Siegel AmeriCorps Education Award. There's other things. Tell all of your VISTAs about it. Make sure that they know that there are a whole bunch of schools. They're all listed on the website, including the details about their match, so they can go follow and when they're thinking about their options, that they might be able to benefit financially or through credit or for other things. And then let us know if you are working on a particular institution and you want some help, let us know and we'll prevail to provide help. There could be others in your state who are working on this already. Last slide, please. Again, if you have any questions, thank you for this time, Desiree, to share this initiative. We're just at the beginning, just like Employers National Service. We've had that since 2014. We have more than 600 employers. This will be around. No rush, but we'd love your help and trying to reach out to get more schools to sign on to become Schools of National Service. That's it. Thanks. Yes,
Sandy, keep your mic on. I've got a question. Does this apply to graduate school programs as well?
Absolutely. In fact, I'd say more, they're currently in our list. Again, the 250 or so that we have now. And by the way, just since we announced this initiative, we've got about 20 or 30 new schools that have signed on just from some initial outreach. Absolutely, graduate schools for sure. In fact, there are more graduate schools that are participating now than undergraduate. Because as we know, a lot of AmeriCorps members do their service post-college, before grad school. And so it's very attractive. And a lot of grad schools really appreciate and value what the real world experience that AmeriCorps members bring. And that could be also in the field of study that they want to study at graduate school. So yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Sandy. And we're really hoping to make a big push with community colleges. We think that's a really important avenue. We know that college education is so important. This is such an exciting opportunity, and that we also have a lot of stories of members who picked a program or college so that they could really enhance their education award by what the particular institution was offering. Thank you so much, Sandy.
Thank you, Desiree, and thanks everybody.
All right, next slide. I know that you are all very aware that we have transitioned from our previous state offices to our structure of 8 regional offices. I'm sorry, I thought I was reading the wrong slide for a second. I thought, this is not what I wrote. In doing this, some of the responsibilities of our staff have also shifted. For example, if you have a grant, your portfolio manager now serves, do I have sound? Yeah, okay. For example, if you have a grant, your portfolio manager now serves as your grant officer. Additionally, while your portfolio manager will still be reviewing your project application and VADs for compliance, they will not be conducting official compliance monitoring visits. We now have an office of monitoring responsible for these tasks. And here to talk to us today is Caroline Fernandez, Deputy Director of our monitoring office. I have been lucky enough to participate in numerous interview panels over the last 3 years. And I happen to serve on the interview panels for both the selection of Caroline and the Director of Monitoring, Linda Southcott. And I can tell you firsthand, this is a remarkable team. They look at monitoring as a way to strengthen nonprofits and national service. So we are lucky to have them both. Caroline has been with AmeriCorps since July 2019. She brings a wealth of experience through her federal service at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, and the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration Division of Department of Health and Human Services, HHS. She has worked and focused her federal career on supporting grantee compliance with federal requirements to meet the programmatic goals and has extensive experience monitoring grants and contracts. She is also a social worker licensed in the state of Maryland. Caroline, thank you so much and welcome to our VISTA call.
Thank you so much, Desiree. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly, thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you for the kind welcome and for the invitation, and thank you for the support from VISTA for our fledgling office. We are an old new office now, having been in existence more than a year, and we are working to complete our first cycle of monitoring, which is exciting. I'm going to quickly go through our core functions and team structure, what our monitoring framework is, and what the monitoring activity lifecycle looks like. Next slide, please. Our core functions include independent monitoring, stewardship of public funds, and organizational effectiveness. So while we are focused on compliance monitoring and we're guided by federal regulations and program requirements, as Desiree mentioned, we are interested in establishing that this good stewardship of public funds leads to outcomes in your programs and increases the organizational effectiveness, both for AmeriCorps and for your organizations as well. We are now using a centralized and standardized approach to monitoring, and it is risk-based. So we are using risk data from the Office of the Chief Risk Officer here at AmeriCorps to allocate our monitoring resources. Next slide, please. We have organized our office of 15 full-time employees to cover the regions with one monitoring officer per region. I have a slide with their names that are a little bit bigger so that you can see the names of the monitoring officer that is assigned to your region. And if you haven't heard from or interacted with your monitoring officer yet, you will very soon. We did not monitor regions that were still in transformation this past cycle, but we do expect to touch every region in our next cycle for fiscal year 21. Next slide, please. Oh, and this is a repeat. It's the same information, but very small. So I probably should have removed this one, but here it is again. Next slide, please. Our monitoring framework, as I mentioned, is risk-based. And so we're working to make risk-based selections from the entire universe of grants at AmeriCorps. So the entire universe, as depicted by the upside-down triangle, consists of the majority of low and medium risk grantees, and then the higher risk grantees that are represented by the smaller part of the triangle. Our sampling allocates resources more to the high risk populations, but it is important to know that we do monitor low and medium risk grantees as well. Our goal is really to increase positivity around the culture of monitoring at AmeriCorps. We want it to be routine, productive, and we are trying to make it more efficient and reduce burden on grantees. You can expect to be monitored probably more frequently than you may have been in the past, but it might be issue-based. And you can see our issue-based assignments correspond to the areas of identified risk that the Chief Risk Officer Office provides us with: programmatic, organizational, financial, and compliance. We do use the risk data that we obtain to map the monitoring assessment tools to the categories and the identified levels of risk. We've been testing and applying our monitoring framework concurrently with the Office of the Chief Risk Officer implementing the risk assessment maturity model, meaning that the risk assessment model is meant to be completed over a series of, it's going to be 3 years, I believe. So it's going to mature as time goes on, and everything is kind of in a test phase at the moment. Next slide, please. While I mentioned in the last slide the 4 areas of risk that are identified and how we map our toolkit to those areas of risk, this is our toolkit. The entire package is called the Uniform Monitoring Package, or UMP, and it contains issue-based specific areas of monitoring. We have program specific for each of AmeriCorps' main programs. We have the Financial and Operational Fitness Assessment, or the FOFA, which includes sampled cost testing, as well as taking a look at staff and member timekeeping. For grants that have subrecipients, we have a subrecipient oversight monitoring module. And then we have a special emphasis and a tool created around prohibitive activities, because that's so important in the law for our programs. As the little red arrow shows, your monitoring visits can be on-site or they can be remote or virtual. Due to COVID, we were very fortunate that we had designed a system that could be completely remote and virtual, because that's what we've had to do since we stood up our office. So anyone who has had experiences with us so far, they've all been virtual. But we do hope that as things get back to normal, so that we will be able to do some on-site visits going forward. Next slide, please. Our life cycle includes a pre-monitoring phase, a monitoring phase, and then post-monitoring and closeout. So first, as I mentioned, the risk assessment module helps us develop our assignments. We notify the grantee. The grantee would submit their submissions to us, and we have a document checklist that governs that process. Then we go through the documents and we notify the grantee if we've done any sampling. So we might sample timesheets, we might sample from your general ledger, we might sample from your drawdowns. We might sample from your roster so that we can decide which members we'd like to interview. Then during the monitoring phase, we actually assess compliance. And again, we're focused on compliance with regulations, laws, as well as terms and conditions. So it's something, documented that has a source that we would cite for any non-compliance. We send the monitoring summary report to the grantee. And then this is a little different than you may have experienced it in the past. We will ask you, the grantee, to come up with your own corrective action planning. We're not going to dictate to you how you become compliant in the areas that we've documented. You'll submit that corrective action plan to us, and then we'll be responsible for reviewing it and approving it. And then we will be sharing information with our colleagues, particularly with the regions, and as well as our colleagues in the program areas and other offices at headquarters. Next slide, please. That, in a nutshell, is our Office of Monitoring, our process and procedures. I know that was a lot of information pretty quickly. So please, anytime you would like, email monitoring@cns.gov, and we will address any questions that you may have.
Caroline, this is Desiree.
Yes.
Do you have a few minutes to stay on and answer a couple of questions I saw in the chat?
I do, yes.
Oh, thank
I'm just
you.
looking at the chat now.
Okay, so I can read them to you so you don't have to go back. Will sites be informed prior to monitoring of the area in which they are being monitored for?
Yes. When you are notified that you will be selected for monitoring, your notification letter will include each toolkit area that you've been assigned.
Great. And how much time will they be given to gather materials?
We have a standard of 30 days. We're still working on our timeline and looking at how long it's really taking versus our goals, but typically it's going to be at least 30 days.
Okay, great. And are the monitoring officer assignments regional assignments for all grants, meaning same person for VISTA as AmeriCorps State and National?
Yes, that's a great question. And yes, similar to your portfolio manager, we are expected to cover all grant types in a regional area. Now, I will say that because the selections are risk-driven, they don't always fall out in a way that's fair and equitable across our monitoring officers. So it is possible to balance workloads that you could be assigned temporarily to have a monitoring officer cover one of your grants, but they'd be coordinating closely with the monitoring officer who's assigned to your region.
And we mean fair and equitable to the workload of the monitoring folks.
Officer, yes, I know that that might also be a concern among grantees.
We'll always be fair and equitable to our grantees, but also to our staff.
Yes.
And then I got, and how will these roll out? When can we expect to be notified? I'm not sure which.
So that's a great question too. We are still, as I mentioned, we're working on the timeline. We would like to complete these cycles in 90-day increments. And we have already done our first round of monitoring. It started in the summer last year, and it did not take 90 days. It is actually still in progress. And I think that's partly because we're building our system, we're testing our tools, and everything is brand new. So it's taking a little longer this time. I don't think we expect that we could do an entire cycle from notification to approval of the corrective action plan in a 90-day cycle. But I will tell you that we are hoping to get letters out in, I'd say, late spring. Well, let's say mid to late spring. So you could expect to be hearing from us probably at the earliest, like end of March, and it could be delayed. As I said, everything in this inaugural phase is taking a little bit longer.
Great, and I've been asked by Adi, and I should have been Aiden Sanders, may we have copies of the UPM and monitoring tools? I should have been mentioning people's names, sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay, and I am looking at the chat now too. Our intent is to provide everyone and make them publicly available with our uniform monitoring package, UNP, and each of the tools within the toolkit. We have not done that yet because everything's sort of been in beta testing mode. We know that everything's in flux at the moment, but it is our intention to give you our tools as soon as they are finalized. Great,
Caroline. I don't see any other questions. We are grateful for you taking time from your busy day to spend it with us.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's really a pleasure to be with all of you.
All right. Eric, I don't know if you're taking over here, but I'll just move forward. Wednesday, February 17th, 2021 from 3 to 4 will be our next VISTA sponsor meeting. And hopefully some of the new AmeriCorps Biden-Harris team will already be in place for that. So that should be exciting time to tune in. Next slide. If we really appreciate your feedback, and if you could take a few minutes to provide your feedback on the Survey Monkey that's here listed, we would be very grateful. And finally, thank you so much. Because of COVID and the pandemic, I didn't get to meet as many of you as I would have liked, but it has been a joy to be a part of this program. And I am honored to have worked alongside the team at AmeriCorps and alongside you. I believe the recordings for these, I understand, are usually posted within a few days. And Eric may throw in the really actual answer in the.
That is correct, Desiree.
Okay, thanks, Eric.
Takes about a week.
Okay, about a week. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. It's truly been an honor to work with all of you.